Hello, good afternoon, everyone. I was just listening to a thing on Radio 4 Extra called Jumpstarting Creativity, and it's the TED Talk Hour on Radio 4 Extra, BBC Radio 4 Extra. Anyway, some parts of it were beautifully inspiring, and I suppose I just started after eating my third course of my brunch there. I decided to stop eating and instead looked at the flowers I had in front of me, and I started to do a little doodle, and I thought I'll just turn on the camera, and I started feeling a little bit of a fizz of creativity, and I've gathered everything around me now. In fact, I began with these 3 pens because I thought those 3 pens are the colour of this, or the 3 colours I was looking at in those flowers, and I thought I'd just do a simple little drawing. But as soon as I started using line, I wanted to then introduce more tone, and I thought about my bright oranges for the vase. And actually then I thought I maybe wanted to be a bit more fluid, and I thought I could use maybe the high flow acrylic ink instead of a pen in order to have a little bit more fluidity to go with the line. And, that's all I want to say about that, because I'm already talking rather than doing, rather than taking action in it. And I think there's something about taking action. There's great power in action. And and so inspired by this, I'm grateful for this talk on creativity there, and inspired by that, I'll put it in the link below actually, so you can watch it, listen yourselves. Inspired by that, I'm going to just have a little play, so join me. Thanks. Okay, and I mostly have it focused on the table. I mean, you saw the flowers, you'll have a different angle from them than I have anyway, so I'm just going to tolerate just having you seeing the paper rather than the image I'm looking at. One day when I make it really big, I'll have 2 cameras, and I'll have a camera focused on the image. Maybe I'll have a whole team of cameramen, camerawomen. All right, that now is exciting to me. I've got my bright orange vase. It's the bright orange vase that I'm working with here. And I think I'm going to even just leave. I was thinking I might just leave the whole lot of it. Yeah, well, let me just glue down this bit anyway for now. We'll see. I'm wrapped up in my blanket here. I've just had delicious food, actually. I made some really nice soup a couple of days ago, and I was too full to eat it at the time. So I've just ended up having a nice big bowl of that now with some organic bread rolls from the storehouse in Pennycook. They do lovely bread. And then I had some porridge, because that was my plan originally. I wasn't going to have the soup, I was going to have porridge, and I thought, I still feel hungry. So, well, I didn't really feel that hungry, but I had it in my head I wanted to eat the porridge with the chocolate in it. I got some chocolate in the storehouse, which is lovely as well. There's some raw chocolate there that's really good, melted in porridge. So that's what I had next. And then sorry, I didn't expect to tell you my whole eating regime, but I hadn't eaten since yesterday, early evening, so I was quite hungry, and I've been out for a walk with Maisie and been to the dentist actually. So I feel like I've kind of got a day behind me. Anyway, and it was a nice relaxing sitting. So I've been sitting here by the window eating away for the last hour or so. What did I have then? Oh yeah, I made a few days ago, I made these really nice blueberry. I think they're really nice. The girls were suspicious because I used organic buckwheat flour. And then when they weren't suspicious, they somehow knew that it tasted different from ordinary flour. No way. Anyway, so I just had another one. I had one of those. Right, what am I doing here? Yeah, I had a muffin with some really nice Machu Picchu coffee. And of course, with the muffin, I had a little bit more chocolate. Kind of like icing. All right, now. So I've got the bright red gerbera there, which I did, the drawing of that I did with my left hand. It's midnight at the window now, wanting to get in. The drawing of that I did with my left hand only because there's something about that element of chance really that comes in and causes me to focus a little bit more fully when I'm slowing down and having to consider with less deftness, but maybe a bit more heart, I think, what I'm drawing. There's something to do with slowing down that allows a little bit more empathy to come in, I think. I don't know if that's true, but there's something slightly more magical. I'll just let Margot in there. I mean Midnight. It's like the children, I go through everyone's name before I get to the right one. Right, Midnight. There we are. I came down the other morning and Midnight had desecrated a few of my paintings. She eats the corners of my paintings. So, but it's worse if she's upstairs because she wakes me up at night. I'm scratching on the door, so I just make sure that they're downstairs and that all my pictures are out of the way. Now what I'm doing is looking for some oil pastels here. I'll just keep that open maybe. The box of oil pastels open there. Because I'm considering the green. Yeah, actually, let me just put that to one side. So the next step there might be, I've only got my small brush now, but I put a splash of some green. Maybe if I wet the paper where I want the green to flow, it'll flow a little bit more freely. And there's going to be a bright yellow flower there. So I'm wetting the paper. I mean, the brush is a bit green already. I'm wetting the paper so I can drop in some green, and maybe even a little bit of that little blue, you know, it's one of my favourite pieces of equipment from 2020. See that? Just little bits of blue ink into the wet. And I'll draw some of the leaves that are overlapping the orange vase there with the same blue. Okay. It's still quite wet too. It's causing some floweriness. Something inside feels excited to see any little accidents like that. A little bit of excitement in the belly around all of that stuff. And I think I'm going to leave the blue there now and see what happens if I stick some high flow acrylic into that water. Whoa. And you see that's the colour that I think the vase needs to be there. And it'll come right down to there. Just create a little, maybe I'll put another splash of it there. Because it comes right down to meet the flower. Right, and that could be the bottom of the vase here. Whoa, it's quite bright, isn't it? I think it'll work. And then she needs to be given a little bit more oomph again, doesn't she? That flower. So let's see what this colour is here. I might use the water again. I quite like that approach of although I want there to be a deeper tone in the centre, so maybe I could do that with oil pastel. The dark tone right in the middle of the gerbera, the red. I'm assuming it's a gerbera. You can't see it, so I can just pretend. I'm looking for colours now here in the oil pastel that would work for the dark. Maybe a combination, because I do want it to be reddish in the centre. So maybe if I start with the blue. Really, Midnight? Start with the blue and then put some of the crimsony colour over it, just so that it does read like the center. And I want it to be really quite dark, so I'm actually going to put a bit more of that dark brownish colour into. Okay, my idea there was that what I could then do, it's a nice bright red maybe, brightish. Let me just put one streak of that and see what that's like in relation to the ink that I'm going to put on next. Okay, see, I don't know which is, I'm looking for brightness. I've ordered some fluorescent inks again on some sort of mission to illuminate my whole world. I keep ordering these like glowing pens and paint. I think if I get the good quality stuff as well, it'll be lasting, you know, it'll last. Okay, so here we are. That's quite similar to the oil pastel actually. I want you to see when I put it on first, look what happens. It immediately occupies the space the water's in. Well, I did immediately do it the first 2 times. Alright, so there's the gerbera sticking out there. Alright, I'm going to leave that for a minute. And I think if I was to do any more, it looks like it's got a more of an orange. Let me see. Maisie, would you go away? It looks like it's got like an orange glow rather than a pinkish or reddish glow. So I suppose it's that. That's the closest I've got to it, I think. Let's see what's in the magic box down here. But the pens don't want to be too close to the paint, do they? I don't want them to get ruined. Maisie, stop it. Leave her alone. Hey. It's Maisie trying to play with Midnight, maybe. I think Midnight sees it differently. Anyway, there's a bit of shininess. What else I was going to do is to create the stem of the gerbera. And I wonder if I lift off some of that ink, if it gets lighter and exciting, or lighter and more boring. Let's see. So I'll just use the corner of the paper towel. You know, it doesn't get lighter at all, which is quite good. See, I want it to be dry enough that I can do something more to it. But I'll soak it up rather than splodge it like that last one, because it loses its edge when I just press it down. So I lift off most of the liquid first and then soak up what's in the centre. Just soak it up from the centre. Okay, that's all right. Okay. I mean, really now what I would have is something. So I want to go towards this, but it's not that really. No, it's not. It's more of a bright orange. Yeah, that's the best I can do. Now, what am I doing next? I'm going to do a bit more to the vase. Am I on that side? No, I think I'll just go straight for the sap green stem of that gerbera. And I'm going to see if I can explain it first with this. I can always make it lighter if need be. But first, I want something that's going to stand out over the pot. Go away, Maisie. Got some white oil pastel too. And even this little bit of blue. I think the blue is quite good. Oh, here she goes. She's going to start tearing that paper up there now. Right, so I'm going to use the blue just around here as a beginning for the stem. And then there's a dark bit at the curve there. And then maybe something like this garish looking green, but I think it might be closest to the green I'm after. That's spring green stem. I'll enter into the pot there somewhere. I don't want to interrupt the fluidity that's there too much because I quite like the contrast. And you see this bit here now, it's not standing out enough, I don't think. So I feel I want to, yeah, I've ordered more of these as well, the Caran d'Ache white oil pastel, which is really fantastically opaque. So I can, I never need worry about retrieving the light when I've got a Caran d'Ache neo pastel oil pastel in the neighbourhood, because it's quite opaque and will cover over most things. Excuse me. Right. Even use it there a wee bit as well. Just eating a bit more Christmas tree. Now, what will I do next now, I wonder? Maybe I'll just go up to the yellow and look. So midnight was about to start tearing. I think I'll start with that. Yellow square. So one of the things they spoke about in this jump starting creativity talk on the radio was having a mess to begin with. Sometimes having something to sort out can really jumpstart your creativity. And I find that actually, when I think about it, I reckon that what I do for myself is create that sense of, create accidents, like by not being fully and completely decided upon whatever I'm going to do. I mean, rarely have I any idea what I'm going to do, to be honest, aside from something lighting a little fire in my belly, and then I think, okay, what's gonna happen here? So that would be kind of the entry point, really. So with no plan in advance, there's a chance then that there's a big opportunity there to allow, really. When there is no plan, you can allow anything to happen, and you can take any little door that opens, really, because there's nobody to apologize to here. You're just doing your thing, following your own gut instincts, your own stuff, and it doesn't matter if it goes pear-shaped. It's yours. That's it. Not many areas in life really where that's the deal, you know, that you can just do your thing and unapologetically move. Nail your colours to the mast. I don't know if that's the same thing as well. Anyway, yeah. Right, the next thing I will see, still a little bit underwhelmed by the brightness of that gerbera. I wonder if cadmium red watercolour might do the trick. It'll add some bit of richness anyway, and a touch more detail. But I guess in reality it's more verging on the colour of the vase, this red, than it is the colour of the gerbera. I might end up with, actually what I need to get is some more oil pastels, or to find my original set that I think had some bright oranges. I'm pretty sure I've ordered a bright orange oil pastel, because I think a bright orange oil pastel would work here. With the medium of oil pastel is such that it is dominant, and once you're sure of where you want to put it, it can be a great tool to enhance the vitality of the flower. Alright, I suppose it'd be no harm now to leave well alone for a minute and go up to the yellow flower. I feel I want to draw that with a stick dipped into ink. Will I don't have any sticks with me just now, and I think it needs to be sepia coloured, so I've got my sepia coloured ink, have I? Yeah, this is the sepia coloured ink here. I don't like using this dipper, it's a bit too big for what I want, although it might allow me to begin. I'll just start, because it is quite dark at the underside of it down here, so I'm okay with it being a thicker line. And what I was going to do was going to exchange that dipper for my little blue one. And even maybe I'll just start using the blue here, mingled with the burnt sienna ink. Maisie, stop it. Oh, midnight, seriously. I know, go away. So I'll use that mingled with the burnt sienna to give me a dark colour to outline the brightness of these yellow. And that yellow is so beautifully bright. This reminds me of a few years ago. For some reason, a few years ago, I had a fascination with daffodils. They'll be coming out soon as well now. Just put a bit more ink on there. I had a fascination with daffodils, and this reminds me of it because I ended up using bright yellow paper to explain the petals of the daffodils. It was the only thing for it. In the end, was bright painted paper, and I think I actually used oil paint so that it was especially vivid and vibrant and bright. I sold those paintings in the Macmillan Art Sale in Edinburgh. I'm using you can see here maybe that I'm using the sepia coloured ink to explain the dark centre and how it meets the lines in between the petals. I'm not going to do too much dark here, but just as a way to emphasize the brightness that Maisie, oh, she's got this kitchen roll. At least it's not the big kitchen roll, it's just the smaller one. I met a dog trainer out walking this morning, and I thought, oh, that's handy. He's just moved to the area. He's a dog trainer with a group called Action for Dogs. So I thought, Maisie's lovely, but there are times when I want her to do what she's told without compromise. As if you watch these videos, recognize that's something that kind of doesn't often happen. Oh, it's a nice spray of blue in the water that you probably can't see from there. No, you can't, sorry. What was I going to do now there? Yeah, I think I was maybe going to put some more. Where was I going to go? I suppose I was going to use this to draw some more petals over there. I'm not sure. Just see. Bring a bit of that bright red back in. Okay. The good thing here is that it's green underneath, so if I did want to enhance the flowers a little more than they are, I could make use of that green contrast. Okay, speaking of contrast, the center of that daisy up here, the yellow one, is very dark in relation to the rest of it. Someone sent me a lovely essay about artists painting flowers. It's no good now because I don't know the name of the person who wrote it, and I can't remember anything about it except that she somehow kind of had this magical relationship with the flowers that caused them to come alive in her view and for her to come alive in their space. And I could relate to that a wee bit. There's something very beautiful about being attentive around beauty, like being really attentive to something beautiful, and nobody could argue that flowers are not beautiful. Too many negatives. Flowers are beautiful is what I'm trying to say, and it's lovely to be in their vicinity then, and actually being so attentive that you need to try and relate what you're seeing causes sometimes it can be quite a peaceful occupation. So I'd recommend it if you're stuck for something to do. Sit a jar of flowers in front of you and just play. I liked the diagonal trajectory here. I'm still liking that, so I'm not wanting to lose it. I'm just reminding myself that that's what I originally was drawn to, and holding to that map, I think maybe not a bad thing, without being too religiously following it, like, but just having the idea that not to go off on tangents when actually my excitement was around it being a nice little pathway there. Yeah, I'm going to use a very dark, the Viridian green. Oh, Maisie! Stop it. She got a good scratch there. No harm. Go away. Yes, you're bold. She sometimes just can't seem to contain herself. What was I going to say? I'm going to use that bright green as a contrast to the red gerbera, and to maybe continue the diagonal right down to the corner here. Okay, there's a bit of resistance there because that's white oil pastel, which I think is fine. And then again over here there's a bit more of the green. I want it to really stand out here, because there's something quite nice about the contrast of the brightness of the flower against the dark green of the table, and the richness of the vase, like the rich orange of the vase. I'm going to do another little pool of water and pop some orange in, I reckon, just to make it more substantial, the vase there. And then I might use a bit of this, a bit more ink on it to identify that edge a bit more clearly too. And I suppose it could be done here as well. Oh, so that's what happens. See when I squirt. Okay. Oh, jeekers. I think it's all right. See, this is an example now of making a mess. It means that I need to use probably yellow oil pastel to brighten up that flower there again. And I'm going to spread out, I think. I'll spread out. Well, what I could do is put some yellow into that blue and make it green. Make the line green and create some more of these leaves that are actually living there. Some more of the dark. So this is the stem of that yellow flower, and it goes inside. My goodness, the neighbour's out with his dogs a lot. That's my third time seeing him. And Maisie, you've just had the one walk today. What if I was to do the same with this now and make an explosion of yellow? Jesus. That's really, it is quite a chancy thing to do. Okay. What next now? You see, I think I could do with some clarity. But at the same time, it's not fierce bright, that yellow. Like it is over here. But over here, it's okay for it to be a little bit more muted, because it is in shadow. I'll just spread them up there. I'll be doing something like that. There's a family down the road there. There's 4 children, and the eldest guy, he's come and helped me with the workshops a bit. Great guy. He's out the whole time with his younger brothers and sisters. What's his name again? No, Adam. And he takes them sledging, and he's great. I was really impressed by the commitment to his siblings. He seems to enjoy them, like. They are good fun though, they're such a lovely family. Right, now I just want to create a more of a centre there. Alright. And I think I could brighten up this bit here. I'll probably find a bright yellow in this little box of treats here, I'd say. I'm going over to the studio then to pick up a painting. Painting of the week that was on the newsletter, actually. That's the one that I want to pick up. I'm posting it to somebody. It was sold. No, I'm just closing my eye to see if that's bright enough. I think it's bright enough. It's maybe not precisely the colour that Gerbera is. It's that daisy or whatever it is a bit more cadmium orange, but a cadmium yellow. Let's see, this is a cadmium yellow here. But I'm not sure if it's gonna. Yeah, I think with the ink it's starting to merge in now. A bit of the cadmium is good there as well. Amazing, there's nobody left to chase now. You're in the bad books. Just sit down and be quiet. I'm thinking I'll take her with me to the studio. It's near the sea and I think she'd enjoy a run. Another run. Okay, so that's the yellow. And now my plan is to use something to draw. I'll just risk killing this pen by putting it into water. Let's see if that'll, because I want there to be some kind of a line delineating the petals from each other. And I think the pen is how I want to do it. I don't want it disturbing everything, you see. And the pen is a fairly tame tool. It doesn't have so much accident-prone qualities, which sometimes is a negative negative thing, because you know, like Paul Klee says, you want to make chance essential. And so when you're using something that's got a fine point like that, there's not very much opportunity for the element of chance to come in. So I recommend incapacitating yourself a little bit with your tools, like let the element of chance in by using stuff that's not so predictable. Okay. A little bit of orange chalk pastel there. Really, what I feel like I want to do is to create a bit of dust or something. And maybe it's not dust, but paint that I can splash on a bit. You know, like that. A little bit of that happening with the orange, I think. Allows it to merge into the surrounding space a bit more. Yeah, still struggling to do justice to the brightness of that red. It's so rich, a velvety red in places. Let's see if this might work for it. Just a drop of fluorescent. Yeah, that's somehow getting it. If it stays that rich as it dries, that'll be just the business, I think. Because you see, I want that flower to read as so it's catching the light a little bit in the way that it is, and it's extending itself forward towards us. It's like thrusting itself open in front of us here. Like, there's a lovely aliveness there that I want to capture and honour. Like, it's just bright and beautiful. There. Okay. And then the darker red ink again, I think, would be the business to explain a bit more now that I've got a bright one. I can explain the darker petals that are coming up to it a little bit more clearly now. But I'm careful not to touch them, because of course if the bright touches the dark, it'll be easily adulterated, won't it? Just touch it there, we'll see what happens. It's okay in that bit. Alright, there we are. And I think if the flowers were to be made a bit more distinctly different than the pot, that would be good. So with that in mind, I'm going to put yet more water here. And there's a little barrier of oil pastel anyway, so don't worry. I'm going to put that there. And if I had a straw, no, I'd blow it. But not having a straw, I'm just still going to blow it. See, I don't want to blow that. I'm going to get a straw, am I? Yes, I'm going to get a straw. Just put you down for a second. Much easy. Okay, I'm back. Back with my straw. Right. What I'm going to do now is come back here. I don't want it covering the stem though. If this is all you ever do, you know, today, like for example, if that's all you do, it's a lot of fun. It's just the thing of, can you see there, directing the straw so it blows the ink in the direction you want it to go in. Okay, and you could get trigger happy when you start enjoying something like that, so maybe have a sheet that you can just mess around on. Sometimes I do that, you know, I get a sheet of paper and just put a few blobs of ink on and use a straw, or just tilt the paper, and it does exciting things, and then you can fill in the spaces with bright colour. Speaking of which, I think I am going to fill in the spaces that are left here with some of this red, the acrylic red. I'll show you. You can't see very well again now, sorry. So this is it's a chalk pen actually, chalk marker pen. And I'm just going to see what it looks like when I fill in some of these spaces. I mean, really, I should wait until it dries a little bit more. But I want to, having kind of broken the boundary, I want to re-establish the boundary, I think. Is that what I want to do? I'm not sure. I just feel like putting some red in. Okay, that's alright. Is it? Well, I could maybe use the red too to outline some leaves maybe. And there's a certain amount of truth here, but I'm not replicating exactly what I'm seeing, as you can imagine. Close enough, like. I'm taking what it feels, you know, I'm taking what I feel I'm being given, to be honest. I feel like this, you know, the things that are revealing themselves to me, are the thing that I'm excited by is the diagonal sweep there, and so that's what I'm focusing on. I'd say it must sound pretty annoying at times, but you know, I don't really mind that, because it's okay, you know. To be annoying sometimes is kind of natural. Just not too often, eh? Alright, now what I'm doing is outlining these brighter leaves with the dark underneath. I'd say I could probably stop fairly soon. Before I stop, what I'm going to do is put some of this white oil pastel over the edge of that to let us know that that's where the vase stops there. I could even maybe outline one leaf. And were we done up here? What do you think? I think maybe I could do with a touch more contrast. Have I got a nice dark green I have? Well, it's a bit colourful, but I can put a brown over it maybe. Because what I want to do there is to create a little bit more contrast so that the yellowness of the petals sings out more. And sure, why don't I use my left hand now to draw a little bit more with a little bit more of the leafy quality of the things there in the foliage, this skinny leaves and various shapes that had been undescribed, and no harm to have a bit more going on the way up to from one flower to the other. And in the same way, I'm going to use some chalk, some green chalk pastel. And here's a nice bright green, well, sap green I suppose. And really the brightest green that I'm seeing is here, but that's like almost a blue green that's there. Yeah, it's like this kind of one. Where was I seeing it? About here. So there's quite bright blue green there. That's not very bright, is it? Try this one. Bright blue green there. And then the other bright green that I'm seeing is the stem of that gerbera that really hasn't been explained as brightly as it really is with the oil pastel. So I'm going to attempt to put the chalk pastel over it. Oh God, breaking it and everything. And just crumble some on top. Ta-da! I think that's me. I was listening back to a couple of videos there. My friend is going to help me sorting out the videos, sorting through them and kind of collating them into proper things. And the amount of times I say, I think that's me done, and then I do another 40 minutes or something ridiculous. So I'm not saying I'm going to change that, but I'm just noticing that that's the case. Oh yeah, I was going to darken that down a little bit more in between there. I did want it to be fairly green, but better that it's dark. Now I can't exactly pick it up and shake off the dust because this is still very wet down here, and I like that it's wet. I want to keep it vibrant, bright and alive. I don't want to go letting that drip or run away. Because yeah, I suppose I could always use the straw. Oh, jeepers. Alright, I kind of like the fluidity thing. I'll just drop a tiny bit more into the green that's there. Just to let it, yeah, so I'm talking really quietly. I'm putting a little bit more of the green that I just spread around there into other parts of this side. Alright. And then the green of the tabletop might come up to about there, wouldn't it? And I'd say that might be where I could force myself to stop. Jeepers. Could I actually force myself to stop there? I might want to do some of the spirals on that lovely Celtic-y scarf. Yeah, I can feel a kind of an imaginative composition coming in here. After this, you know, there's such a lovely I'll tell you what, there's something quite like really inspiring and exciting just by working with fluid colour. I think it's the fluidity helps me as well. It's not only working with colour, but working with paint and moving it about in that way that is a little bit unpredictable and joyous and stuff. And anyway, so on my own after this, what I might end up doing is a little just think from my imagination where I do little splashes like that maybe and let it dry and then come back in. And you could I'll do this on a video one day as well. What you could do is have 2 or 3 on the go and let them dry, put them to one side and come back to the first, and so you're always able to be moving on something colourful and different. Sometimes that's quite a nice thing to do. Other times you want to focus only on one, but sometimes it's a good idea, maybe for me especially, seeing as you know how I get kind of trigger happy with things and want to keep going and keep going and keep going. Sometimes it's good for me then to have another painting so I can put it to one side when I'm not completely clear about what I want to do next, to put it to one side and let it sit and dry, and then when I come back to it, having worked on something else or had a cup of tea or whatever it is, then I might know more clearly what to do next. So I recommend having breaks, building in pauses, little dance, move your body somehow, and then come back and see what arises next. Okay. Yeah, I'm still here. Okay. Yeah, do you know, I'm just going to let it alone now. And if I do any more to it, I can, oh my god, the whole thing nearly collapsed there. If I do any more to it, I can show you somehow another time, or I'll do a second video. If I do any more to it, I'll do a second video. Oh, Jesus, sorry. The thing is attached to the table. I'm going to take it off the table so you can actually see the flowers that I was looking at a bit as well. See, that's what I was looking at, and that's the. Hopefully you can see it there. I don't know how. Okay. All right, and here I am. Am I? Yeah. Backlit, sorry. Okay, thanks very much for joining me, and it's been a pleasure. I'd give it a go. Take some colours out. I mean, when I say some, look at the state of the place here, look. And look at Maisie. There's loads of stuff here. And some paper on the windowsill. And some more stuff on the ground, and Maisie's eating up that paper towel. Anyway, what I'm saying is, take, get some colour together for yourself, spread it out like a child in a sweet shop, and just splurge, have a bit of fun. And very often it'll turn out an awful mess sometimes, but it's actually a great antithesis, is that it? To order and just to kind of stuckness. To do something wild and free on paper is incredibly empowering and can make you feel like anything is possible. That's the power in creativity too, that it lets us know there's magic somewhere here. It's not all predictable stuff. Oh, I feel a bit tearful. There's magic and mystery in this life, It's not all, mundane by any stretch. So there you are. Thanks for joining me. All the best. Maybe see you tomorrow. I'll try my best.